Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Choma of Choma Stitches, and today we are going to be making a ball gown for a girl child. Okay, when I say ball gown, it's not going to be too full, but we're going to be using this mesh to sew it as the underline to give it the fullness we want. And this is the Ankara we're working with. This is the lining we're going to be using, and we have a zipper. Of course, you should have a matching uh, thread to go with this. All right, so we're going to start by cutting out the upper bodies of this dress. And so for the half length of this dress, I am working with 12 inches. So I am going to be marking out 12.5 inches, and half an inch is going to be for joining the upper bodies to the lower bodies. Her across shoulder is 6.5 inches. I'm going to be marking 6.5 inches. And I'm going to come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slanting. And then from the 1 inch shoulder slanting, I'm going to be getting her armhole. And for the armhole, I'm going to be dividing her upper bodies, that's the larger part of her upper bodies, by 6, and I'll add 1.5 to each. So I am going to mark out 5.5 inches for her armhole. And so for her upper bodies area, 24 inches divided by 4 will be 6 inches. I'm going to mark 6 inches. And I'm extending it to the waist area because it's the same measurement, and I'm going to be adding 1 inch for sewing allowance. Okay, and then I am going to be using my curved ruler or the curved part of my ruler to mark out the armhole for this. Okay, and then for the neckline, I am going to be using 2.5 inches 2.5 inches by 3 inches for the front and 1 inch for the back. So I'm using freehand for this. So I'm going to mark out the 1 inch for the back as well. So this is pattern, and let me connect the line to the shoulder line. So I have this, and then I am going to be adding half an inch at the top here to join the shoulder lines. So since I'm doing everything on the fabric, I might as well just include it all. And then for the armhole, I'm going to be adding 1/4 of an inch for the armhole for joining the sleeve, because it's going to have a sleeve. So I have this. So now I can cut out my pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to be using the same pattern to cut out the back pattern. So I am going to cut this out, having 1 inch at the back here for the zip allowance. So now I am going to cut out the first neckline, which is the back neckline. So I'm opening up the back. And also, it is not by mistake that I did not add any darts for this child's dress, because her waistline and her upper bodies is just the same measurement. So now I can cut out the neckline for the front. Now let's draft her sleeve. Okay, this sleeve is going to be having 2 layers. The first one is going to be the basic sleeve, and then the next we're going to be adding extra gathered fabric to give the hand a kind of a poof sleeve. Okay, so the length of the upper one is going to be 6 inches. So I am adding 6.5 inches, so that half an inch will be for joining this to the poofy part of the sleeve. And then I am going to be dividing her upper bodies by 12. We have 2 inches. I'm going to come down by 2 inches. And so to get the box of the sleeve, we divide the upper bodies by 6 and add 1.5, like we did when we're taking the armhole. So the 24 divided by 6, so I have 5.5 here. I'm going to be marking a straight line across this place to create a slanted line. And then I'm going to find the middle of this slanted line, 3 inches. I'm just going to go up by half of an inch, and I will connect it to the top of the sleeve, and I'll bring it down to this side. So I'm going to go ahead and add the sewing allowance of 1 inch, and I'll also add the sewing allowance of half of an inch at the top here for joining the sleeve to the upper bodies. so I can cut out the sleeve pattern. So around the arm area is supposed to be 4.5 inches, and 1 plus 1 inch you have this. So I'm just going to come here and cut out this part. So this is the sleeve, and I cut it two together, so we have both sleeves in one. Now the full length of this gown is 28 inches. So I've taken out 12 inches for the upper body, so we have 16 inches left. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out 16 inches for this lower bodice. So what the fabric I have left, I'm just going to fold it. So I have cut out the leftover fabric for the lower bodice. This is the front piece, and this is the two back pieces. Okay, the back piece is 1 inch long, wider for the zip allowance, and I've cut out the lining pieces just the same way as well. And then this is the lining piece for the upper bodice, as you can see, and I've cut out the tulle to the length that we need. This is a piece for the back piece. Okay, so for the lower bodies, because I am going to be gathering it, because I'm going to gather it, I am going to go ahead and sew loose stitch on all the lower bodies, both the lining piece and the Ankara piece. I have sewn the loose stitch on all of them, all the pieces, as you can see, both the main fabric and the lining pieces. So it's time to start gathering it on the basic bodies. And so I'm going to fold these lower bodies in half, and I'm going to get the middle, and I'll pin the middle to the middle of the upper bodies. And then I try to pin the sides as well. I pin each edge of the lower bodies to the edges of the upper bodies. And then I pick one of the loose threads, and I'm trying to pull on it. And as I pull it, I gather the excesses on the upper bodies. And then I try to use my hand to even out the spread of the gathers. I'm going to go ahead and use a straight stitch to sew it together. And I will repeat the same process for the two back pieces. And here, as you can see, I have attached it. See, I've sewn them. This is the two back pieces. I've sewn the two back pieces. I've done the same thing for the front piece as well. And I did the same thing for the lining pieces. Like I mentioned, I'm sewing the lining to lining pieces separately, and I'm sewing the main fabric to the main fabric separately, so that the lining piece is going to cover up the rough edges in the main fabric when we attach them together. So as you can see, so now I'm going to go ahead and gather the tools on the lower bodies, and I'll be gathering it on the main fabric, not on the lining piece, just like I'm showing you. Okay, so after sewing the layer, the main fabric, I went ahead to sew the tulle to it, gather the tulle around here, as you can see. So this is going to help to give it more volume. Now I am going to be joining the back pieces together. So this is so that we can attach the zip. I'm going to go ahead and sew with 1 inch sewing allowance, and then I'm going to hem the edges, and I'll also hem the edges of the front piece. Then I'll attach the zipper to the back piece. So I have sewn the zip. So you can see I've attached the zip, and this is it. So next I am going to be concealing the neckline. So I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to sew the neckline. And when I'm sewing the neckline, I am going to sew it with a hemming gum. That way, when I'm turning it inside out and I iron it, it's going to lay down flat. So I'm going to go ahead and use the hemming gun and sew the neckline for both the back piece and the front piece. So I have sewn the neckline. As you can see, sewed it individually, and this is it. I am going to use the lining to conceal the rough part of the zipper like so, to keep it inside, so that all these rough edges will all be inside the dress and to not be showing on the outer part of the dress. So this is it. I'm going to go ahead and sew this, turn the other way and sew the other one. I have also used the lining to conceal that of the front. As you can see, here is the front piece and this is the back. And everything here is going to go in like this. I also use the hemming gum, as you can see. Use the hemming gun to sew the neckline so that when I iron it, it will lay down perfectly. Then for the sleeve, I am going to So this part of the sleeve that I'm going to be using for the puffy part, I am going to go ahead and pleat it. I am going to go ahead and pleat it on the sleeve. After pleating it, I am going to hem the edge here with half an inch folded twice, where we're going to pass the elastic. Okay, so I've sewn the zip, concealed it inside. Okay, and then this is the sleeve. I've pleated it on it. You can see I pleated the puffy parts to the main sleeve, and then I went ahead to hem the edge and leaving an opening where I can pass through the elastic. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the elastic now. Okay, so this is the elastic band I'm going to be using for this, and you just have to take a measurement of your wrist or wherever you want it to stop, measurement of the child's wrist, and cut the elastic accordingly. So I'm just going to pass the elastic inside, following the opening I left. Okay, and when you are done passing it in, you are also going to go ahead and seal the opening. So I like to fasten this one here so that by the time I go around, it will not pull. It will not pull everything inside. So I'm going to run stitch multiple times on this so that this place stays strong before you can let it in, and it will just give us the poof on the sleeve. Okay, so next I am going to go ahead and join the shoulders of the bodies so that after joining the shoulders we can now attach the sleeves to it. Shoulders have been sewn, and so I'm going to get the middle of the sleeve and pin it to the shoulder joining. I'm going to go ahead and sew from one edge to the other. Okay, so I have attached the sleeve, and now I'm just going to go ahead and sew the sides. I've pinned it together, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and use the sewing allowance of 1 inch to sew the side all the way to the down. Also, I've gone ahead to hem the edges of the main bodies. And then after joining the sides, I am going to use an overlocking machine to weave the inside to give it a clean finish, and then so that the fabric will not shred. Okay, and so guys, we've come to the end of the class. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if it was of any help to you at all, and I don't mind if you also share this video so this community can grow. And please don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed, and also look out for my other videos. Turn on the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video, which happens to be very often these days. If you have questions or concerns, drop them in the comment section and I will get to them. I'll see you in my next sewing tutorial shortly. Bye bye.